Hi, so today we're going to be going over balanced parentheses and how to solve it. I made a video on this in the past, did not go very well because I forgot to mute my audio, and I think overall, in like 6, 7 months since I've uploaded that video, I've improved quite a bit as an engineer. I don't even know if I should call myself an engineer. Anyways, question, right? So we're given a expression string, write a program to examine whether the pairs and orders of curly brackets, parentheses, and square brackets are correct. An expression, this is wrong, by the way. There we go. So there is a few ways you can actually solve this, but there's one sort of textbook solution that if you could ask this question, a lot of people are looking for, and that is to use a stack. This problem is more or less testing if you know how to use a stack and how to manipulate a stack. In this session, I'm going to be implementing just a very rough, like by no means a comprehensive stack class, but just something. I think it's fun to write these tiny little classes. And then we're going to go ahead and sort of walk through the problem right now. So first thing we need to sort of ask ourselves is, how are we going to solve this problem, right? So given the fact that we have, let's say, square brackets, right? How do we know that this is balanced? Well, when we read it, we know it's balanced because we start by reading the first character. We look for a opening square bracket. Next thing we're going to be looking for is a closing square bracket, right? So now let's make it a little more complex. There is parentheses inside. So if we see a closing square bracket, and then the next thing we read is an opening parentheses. Let me do this in read mode, edit mode. The next thing we see is an opening parentheses. Our priority has now shifted. We are no longer looking for the closing square bracket. We are now looking for the closing parentheses bracket. Whatever we have seen as an opening character first takes priority in what we want to look for. So a stack fits perfectly for this profile. So how are we going to use a stack to solve this profile? Well, we can use a stack in this sense. So let's call this pseudo. It's not going to be pseudocode, but sort of explanation. So let's say that if we encounter an opening character, push it into the stack. Once we have pushed it into the stack, we need to check if the current character one is a closing character. If the current character is not an opening character, pop the top from the stack. Then compare the two values. Of the most recently popped value and the current character. If they don't match, we return false. If they do match, we continue until the string, until the end of the string. Alright, so let's sort of, this sounds pretty simple when I read out like that, but let's work through an example together. So let's work through this example. So let's say we have a stack called S. On iteration 1, what we're going to do is we're going to loop until the end of the string. So we're going to have a for loop. We'll say that I starts at the first index, and it's going to go until the end of the string. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say if the expression at character I is an opening character, meaning it is either an open parentheses, open square bracket, early curly bracket, then we go ahead and push it into the stack. If expression I is not an opening character, pop from the stack and compare, and check if they are matching characters. If they are not matching, return false. Oh, that's weird. Okay, and that's about it. Now, what we return at the very end is we can go ahead and return true. You may be asking yourself, but what happens if there's there's a certain edge case you're missing here? And you're absolutely right. The edge case you're missing is if there's an odd number of characters in a string. Since anything that's balanced consists of two characters, if a string or an expression is balanced, it must be an even number. So what we can actually do here is we can go ahead and say here, if the length of s is odd, we return false. And then at the very end, when we have terminated the string, we can return true, because we have covered every base case of when to return false here. Let's go ahead and write some code. So we'll start with a class called stack. We'll implement. So stack needs a top variable to keep track of where we are. We'll get to top. We need an array of characters. Stack r. Cool. Let's go ahead and create a constructor now. Stack integer size. Stack r equals new character array with size, and the top is -1. So, what are the methods we need to implement for this? Well, we could implement a fully comprehensive stack, but for the purposes of this problem, we can just implement a simple 3-method stack. What we really need is we need the push method, the pop method, the isEmpty method. So let's go ahead and write that out. So public void push. It's going to take a character and call it C, and we don't need to return anything here. I mean, you could return a boolean if you like, but that would be for if you're looking to implement the class in more comprehensive programs. And even at that point, you should probably just using the library. We just say stack r. We increment pointer for top and set that equal to C. Pop method, very similar, except we're returning a character, does not take an input, and return stack array at top, and after returning it, we decrement it. Finally, we have our isEmpty method. isEmpty. No need to check if the stack array is empty. We can just check if top is -1. Since if top is -1, that means that we have not pushed a single element to our stack yet. Let's go ahead and make our class here. We're calling the class Scratch because I just have this file named this, scratch.java. So I'm going to go ahead and write a few tests for this after I read the problem out. So before we begin, we should take a look at this line here. Pop from the check and if they are matching characters. We need to actually write a private method here to check if they're characters, because obviously an opening bracket and a closing bracket are not equivalent in the literal sense. They are matching characters, they're not equivalent characters. So we will not be able to use an equality method, equality check here. Instead, we'll need to write a method for this. So let's go ahead and do that first. Get that out of the way. Make it a private method. It's a boolean, of course, and we'll call it is matching. And we'll take two characters, character A and character B. Now, we have a specific 3 cases that we want to match for. If A is a opening character and B is a closing character, or A is a opening curly bracket character and B is a closing curly bracket character, or A is a opening square bracket character and B is a closing square bracket character, then we return true. We return false if it does not fulfill any of these other requirements. Let me just make sure I wrote the syntax correctly, since it was getting a little bit messy. What I should actually be doing here is breaking this up. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll go ahead and break it at every thing here, like so. And voila. So we're checking if A is equal to opening parentheses and B is equal to closing parentheses, or if A is equal to opening curly bracket and B is opening. All right, so we're good. I won't list off the actual methods. Okay, let's go ahead and write our main method now. Public, let's call it is balanced. Oops, Boolean is balanced, and it takes a string expression. I'm not sure what I've done here. I don't know what I've done. Some slight technical syntax errors here. Okay, so we'll go ahead and begin by checking if the length of the string is off. If length mod 2 is equal to 1, then we return false. Then we can do our next check. Actually, we can run the formula. So stack s is equal to the new stack with the size of expression length at max. Then we want to go ahead and begin looping through. So for integer, we can actually, I don't remember if a enhanced for loop works with strings. We can go ahead and try though, and change if it doesn't work. For character C and expression, we can go ahead and say if C is an opening character, or C is a opening square bracket character, or C is a, what am I missing? Oh, parentheses, open parentheses character. Then we go ahead and say s dot push C. If it's not, then we want to go ahead and do if is matching s dot pop or C, then we return false. We continue all the way and return true. I sort of realized I just sort of wrote the code without explaining. This line is pretty much the only line where I would say has a little difficulty being interpreted, if you weren't following along. We're essentially checking if the character we have popped off from the stack and the current character we want match. If they don't match, we return false. If they do match, we just continue through. Let's go ahead and implement some very quick test. And string s equals let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and go to line 5. That's the beginning. Copy that. Now we can go ahead and paste this here. System print is balanced s, and I just realized we don't have static methods. Public static, and then in class line 24 static. Okay, I think this should be it. Let's go ahead and save it, and let's try to run it. I don't really know where anything is. I'm just gonna compile this. Okay, it's not iteratable. Okay, that's slightly unfortunate. This is what I was worried about. It's been a while since I did any string operations. We'll just do this manually. It's really not a biggie. Length. Then we have to replace every instance of C with. We'll just do this. Yeah, this should work. Compile this. Character C is equal to. Cannot find S. What do you mean? Oh, I usually use S as my strings. I'm not very used to using expression. All right, let's run it. This should return true. Scratch. True. All right, so it returns true. Let's try another one out. Actually, let's just replace this one. Go ahead and do something that's incorrect. How about this? Compile it, run it, and it's false. Cool. Yeah, that's about it for trying to solve a balanced parentheses using a stack in Java. Hopefully the quality of this video is a little bit better than the last one. It's been like a while, as you haven't checked my YouTube channel in a while, which is why I just realized what happened with that video. Yeah. In that case, take care and have a nice day.